This is Lindsay with Garage Reviews. If you are looking for an air rower, so something that creates resistance by pulling air through the flywheel, then this is a really good one to check out because it is more quiet than any other rower that is a fan resistance or air resistance rower that I have tried so far. It is the Soul SR550. I honestly don't have a ton of call outs to it because I do think it's a pretty good rower, although there are a few things that I would maybe change or tweak, but continue watching this video so you can see what I do call out. Also, make sure you are subscribed to this channel. And if you do want to purchase this, we've made it easy. Place a link below the like button. When you use that link, it doesn't cost you anything extra. And lastly, this was sent to us by the company, but as always, this is an honest review. So Soul had an SR500. This is now the updated version, and it is the SR550. There are a couple updates that they've made, the first one being the screen size. So it is now a 10.1-inch touchscreen. Now, it doesn't have built-in programming. It does use the screen mirror function, but it is pretty responsive. It has bright colors, and then it has clear sound coming through the speakers. When I went ahead, connected to the Wi-Fi, connected to the Bluetooth, it was super easy. Like, honestly, I'm pretty sure my 7-year-old could figure out how to do this. The one thing I will say, and maybe this is just my experience, so if you've experienced this, please let us know in the comments, but I do have to disconnect from a different Soul device if I want to connect to this one. I've had that come up 2 times now. I'm not able to connect to like a Soul treadmill and also simultaneously connect to the Soul rower. I have to disconnect from one or the other. If I'm the only one, let me know, but so far that has been my experience. And overall, I mean, it's not like the biggest deal. It's just like a little annoying, especially if you're going to go back and forth to have to disconnect from one machine in order to use the other. The Soul programming is not my favorite, but it does come free with the purchase of a rower, which is better than a lot of other subscription-based programs out there where you're spending $30 to $40 a month. And I do think it's decent enough. The only major call-out that I do have to the Soul programming is sometimes the sound isn't mixed really well. So sometimes I'll take classes where I hear the instructor really well, but the music not so much, or I'll hear the music really well, but the instructor not so much. And there's no way for me to mix it myself. So that's kind of a call out that I do have, but in terms of the actual workouts, I do think they do a good job. Now, one reason I think that this is good for a home gym owner is because of its ability to fold. Now, typically I don't like rowers that fold in half because I have been pinched on my fingers too many times using the folding mechanism on them. This is a little bit different. So instead of essentially it folding in half this way, you have the monorail essentially fold up. So it's going to save on a lot of space, but it's not going to pinch your fingers, and it's really easy to use. Now, this is such a minor call out, but I will say the knob in which you loosen the part to fold it up does take a little bit of effort. Like, it's not just a turn and pull knob. You actually have to twist it until it's fully or almost fully disengaged before you fold it up. One thing I absolutely love about this rower is its seat height. So it's all the way up to about 19 inches. This is totally different than something we see like with the water rower or the Agata where it's so low to the ground. People with poor mobility or have a hard time getting up from the ground into a seated position or a standing position are going to struggle with a rower that's so low to the ground. This is great for those who might lack a little bit of mobility, might lack a little bit of strength because the seat height is much higher. Now, the seat is comfortable. It's large. It's not my favorite seat I've ever used. As I was rowing my 500, I did start to notice like it just wasn't as comfortable as I prefer, but it wasn't the biggest deal. And obviously, this is like such a nitpicky thing that I am making. Now, the foot pedals work with a variety of shoe sizes. The only complaint that I do have are the straps. As I was trying to loosen the straps, there was just like a lot of resistance, a lot of tension, and I actually ended up having to use both hands in order to loosen the straps from my foot. Now, this could be loosened up over time, and I'm sure it will be, but it was definitely something that I noticed right up front. Like I said earlier, this does use air resistance. This is honestly the quietest air rower that I have experienced so far. A lot of times people preferred something like a water rower or magnetic rower in a small space because of the noise level. I do think that if you are concerned about the noise level, although this is going to make more noise than something like a magnetic rower, it is going to be a better option than something like the Concept 2 or the Vulcan rower. Now with this, it does come with adjustable resistance. I don't know how I feel about the resistance. They did do something that initially I thought would be really good, and basically they put buttons on the middle of the handlebar so you don't have to take your arms or your hands off of the handlebar while rowing in order to change the resistance. You just have to have like the touch of a button. However, I didn't love the resistance. So as I was using it and I went all the way up to level 16, the only part I actually felt more resistance on was that initial pull. So it wasn't consistent resistance throughout, at least in my opinion. It felt like it was harder to pull, but once I got going, it wasn't as hard. And also it almost like hitched. So it's like really hard to pull initially from the resistance, but then it doesn't follow that resistance all the way through the pull. And then it kind of like hitches back and you have to start all over. So for me, I wish that the resistance was a little bit more distributed evenly throughout the pull instead of just that initial pull and then kind of really losing tension throughout the movement. This is a belt-driven rower. I usually prefer a belt-driven rower, although this just kind of a different feel. It depends what you are used to, but both are honestly good. Sometimes a belt-driven rower can require less maintenance over time, so that is maybe something to consider. It also does come with 10 pre-programs and then 2 user programs that you can go ahead and set yourself in addition to the sole programming. I would say another call out that I do have to this machine is that it is built with a lot more plastic than we see with other rowers. Now this isn't like an end-all be-all, like just because it's plastic doesn't mean it's not quality. In fact, I do feel like it's built pretty well. It's really sturdy. It's really stable. It does come with floor stabilizers on the bottom of it, so really you are able to get a stable base. I would just say that obviously plastic is more prone to being able to break easier than something we see with like a metal rower. So overall, I mean, it's not a huge call out, but it is just something to be aware of, especially if you are wanting this rower to last a long time and you plan on moving it around a lot. The overall cost of this rower is $1,399. I do feel like that's a pretty fair cost. It's more expensive than something like the Concept 2. Obviously not as expensive as something like the Ergatta rower. Now, would I choose the Concept 2 over this rower? Yes. But if you are somebody who needs a quieter rower and you want some sort of programming along with it, then I don't think this is a bad rower at all. The weight capacity on this rower is 400 pounds, and then the overall weight is 106 pounds, so really lightweight and easy to move around. In terms of its warranty, it has a lifetime warranty on the frame, 2 years on parts, and 1 year on labor. That's actually better than a lot of warranties that we see with similar rowers, especially around this cost point. I mean, having a lifetime warranty on any part of the rower is generally a really good sign, and Sole's customer service is actually really good. Now, there is free shipping with this rower, but you can go ahead and add on kind of additional things. So if you want this delivered to your room of choice, it's an additional $200. And if you want this delivered to your room of choice and assembled for you, it's an additional $350. The last thing I will mention about this rower is that the screen does swivel. So like I mentioned earlier, if you're doing any sort of like rowing and then lifting component, maybe a HIIT workout or a CrossFit workout, and you're following along with the programming that Sole offers, you're really easily able to swivel the screen, able to watch the instructor, and then hop back on the rower, swivel the screen back, and honestly, it was super easy. So overall, what would I rate this out of like 5 stars? Probably a 4. Like, there's no huge call outs to it. It's just not my absolute favorite one that I'm gonna like run to for a workout. But I mean, there are minor things about it, but overall, I really enjoyed this rower. If you tried this rower, let us know in the comments. This has been Lindsay with Garage Gym Reviews.